Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, April the 13th. We got a 6-game Tuesday slate to break down. As always, we're going to go through this slate game by game, talk about each team, just give you my early thoughts, what does stand out to me looking at this slate on Monday night. But before we do get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. If you are new to the channel here, be sure to click that subscribe button as well. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also do get notified every time I live stream. Once again, should be live this afternoon around 4:30 Eastern time, breaking down tonight's slate with you guys. So if you are free then, check out my YouTube channel. I should be live, answering all you guys' questions, talking through this slate once again on Tuesday afternoon. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at tonight's slate, and we'll start off with the Atlanta and Toronto game. So looking at the Hawks side here, definitely a big team to talk about in terms of injuries. Very, very important injury to watch here with Trae Young, who is currently questionable. Obviously, this impacts a ton if Trae Young is out. The biggest beneficiaries if Trae Young were to be out are going to be Bogdan Bogdanovic, who we've seen have really good games in the past when Young has missed. Bogdan Bogdanovic would get a pretty good boost. Kevin Huerter would get a little bit of a bump, and then Lou Williams would be another guy worth talking about. I'm pretty sure though last time Trae Young was out, I think they started Brandon Goodwin. I can't remember. I think they either started Goodwin or they started Bogdan at point guard. But yeah, if Goodwin were to start with Trae Young, if he were to be out, then Brandon Goodwin could be someone we look to go to. It looks like Goodwin did play 37 minutes in their last game. I think that was like an afternoon game, so I'm pretty sure Trae Young was out then. I don't remember that game being on the main slate. So yeah, Trae Young was out last game. I think Brandon Goodwin did start, and he played 37 minutes, and he played really well. So I assume if Trae Young's out again, Brandon Goodwin, he would start. 3,500, he'd be a top value play today. Guys like Lou Williams, Bogdan would also get a bump. Curious to see how many minutes Lou Will played. So yeah, Lou Will played 29 minutes off the bench. Wasn't that productive, but he would get a boost if Trae Young were to miss. Same with Bogdan. But if Trae Young plays, then obviously that's going to take me off of those guys. Trae Young himself, though, I think would be a decent tournament option at 9,100. He feels priced appropriately, if not maybe a little bit too cheap. I don't know if he'd be a guy that I would be trying to jam in on this slate, but definitely would be viable if he's in. Clint Capella at his price tag, I'm not a huge fan of. I think there's just other guys I prefer. There's other centers I'm looking to. 8,500 for Capella. I don't think I'm going to be paying that price for him on this slate when you have guys like Paul George without Kawhi. You got Donovan Mitchell, who's been playing really well, with a shorthanded Utah team. Potentially no Jordan Clarkson again. I think those are guys I'm going to pay for over Capella, so not a ton of interest there. Really, it's just a wait and see for me if Trae Young plays. If he plays, he's viable in tournaments, but if he's out, I have a lot more interest in guys like Bogdan, Lou Will, Huerter, and definitely Brandon Goodwin, who would be a top value play if Trae Young's out. So that's kind of that's the way I'm looking at the Atlanta side. Now going to Toronto, another team I have some interest in today. We do already know that Fred VanVleet is once again going to be out. Kyle Lowry did make his return last game, and very surprisingly, he played 37 minutes right out of the gate. I was expecting Lowry to be on a minutes limit, but he played 37 minutes, had 41 DK points. 7,400 is way too cheap for Kyle Lowry without Fred VanVleet, especially if he's going to be playing 36, 38 minutes, his normal minutes here. I think Lowry is a top option today. The fact that he wasn't limited in his first game makes me assume he's full go, moving forward. And we know he gets a boost without VanVleet, a little bit of a usage bump. Obviously, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more. Really like Kyle Lowry today. He is definitely my favorite play from this Toronto team. Overall, he just looks too cheap on both sides. $28 on Yahoo, way too cheap. 7,400 on DK, also too cheap. Without VanVleet, Lowry should be above 8K. If not closer to 9K. We've seen, Lowry have big games in the past without VanVleet. So really like him. Don't mind Siakam either. His price, though, has gotten to a point where he doesn't really stand out as a top option. Obviously, I prefer Lowry for the savings. OG at 7,100, again, I feel like he's priced appropriately. Not a guy I'm really going to be trying to jam in at this price tag. Obviously, he gets a little boost without VanVleet, but not enough to where I want to pay 7,100 for him, especially with Lowry back. Boucher, so last game, he did play 30 minutes, had 44 DK points. He was very chalky the game before that when, Siakam was out. Siakam was out. I think OG played, but Siakam was out in that Cleveland game. Lowry was out that game. VanVleet was out that game. Everyone played Boucher. I played Boucher on that slate, and he only scored 25 DK points in 26 minutes. But then the next game against the Knicks, did start again, played 30 minutes, had 44 DK points. We know Boucher is a good point per minute player. He's going to start, probably get around 30 minutes. I expect his production on a point per minute basis to take a little bit of a hit with Lowry back, but still don't mind Boucher. Like, I think I would definitely rather have Boucher over OG if I had to choose between those two. Gary Trent now at 6K, like, he had that huge game when everyone was out, and then came back down to earth last game against the Knicks with 29 DK points in 35 minutes. It's 6K. I don't think I'm going to pay this price tag for Gary Trent. Just feels a little bit too expensive. Kind of same. Him and OG both feel a little bit overpriced. Really don't have any interest in Malachi Flynn with Lowry back. He's not someone I'm looking to. So for me, on this Toronto team, I think definitely Lowry's my favorite play. Boucher I still have interest in, though. And that's probably it. Honestly, Siakam, OG, Trent, they're okay, but not guys I'm really jamming in on this slate or even, running to roster. Like Malachi Flynn, I assume he took a minute to, he only played 27 minutes last game. I know DeAndre Bembry started last game, but he only played 21 minutes. So, yeah, even if he starts again, I don't think I'm going to go to DeAndre Bembry. So that probably does it for Toronto. We can go ahead and move on to the next game, the Clippers and the Pacers. So in the Clippers, we already have some big news that Kawhi Leonard has already been ruled out. He was out last game. Paul George, obviously the clear beneficiary here with Kawhi out. Had a really good game last game without Kawhi. 37 minutes played, had 50 DK points, took 25 shots. Like, he's just going to get a ton of usage. The offense is going to run through PG when Kawhi is off the floor. The price tag went up a little bit, but it didn't go up enough, in my opinion. PG should be, 9,500 when Kawhi is out. He's still way too cheap today, so I do like PG a lot at 8,700. Again, on Yahoo, looks very affordable over there. Price tag went up a little bit to $39, but still think he's a little bit too cheap on Yahoo. So do really like PG here without Kawhi. But all these other guys, I think, get a boost. Reggie Jackson for 5,400, I have some interest in. He played 29 minutes, had 28 DK points. His price went up a little bit, but again, I don't think it went up enough. I still do like Reggie Jackson quite a bit. I expect him to be way more productive. With Kawhi out, he should see more secure minutes as well. Vika Zubac did have a really good game last game. He played 35 minutes, had 38 DK points. The minutes have kind of been up and down for Zubac, but if they're going to play him 30-plus minutes, he is someone I definitely have interest in at 5,200. I expect his production to also take a nice little hit or take a hit up with Kawhi out. That's just going to allow for him to get more rebounds, just more opportunity. So Zubac, I do have some interest in at 5,200. The minutes are always a question with him, but he got 35 last game, which is great to see. So do have interest in Zubac. And then Marcus Morris as well, 5K on DK. In my opinion, it's still too cheap. Like, these Clippers guys got priced up a little bit, but in my opinion, they didn't get priced up enough. Last game, we saw Marcus Morris play 36 minutes, took 18 shots. Like, he just gets a ton of opportunity without Kawhi. He's going to be I would say probably their number 2 scorer behind Paul George. If DraftKings is going to leave his price this low, I think, he is someone I definitely want to be on again. Obviously, I don't know if he's going to shoot 72% from the field and 75% from 3 like he did last game, but the opportunity was there, I think. 18 shots. We've seen Marcus Morris have good games whenever one of Kawhi or PG's out, so I do like Marcus Morris quite a bit at 5K. I would say he's probably my second favorite play from the Clippers behind Paul George. He's also still too cheap on Yahoo, in my opinion. $13 looks like a clear value at the power forward position. But like Terrence Mann, probably won't be going there. He only played 22 minutes off the bench. We've seen Terrence Mann have good games as well whenever one of Kawhi or PG is out. But, now that Rondo's back, Rondo's obviously going to take some minutes away from Terrence Mann. I don't think we're going to get like 36 minutes from Terrence Mann like we did the Houston game. I think he's more likely to play low 20s, which does cap his upside a little bit. Batum, I think, got some good run off the bench. Yeah, he played 31 minutes, had 38 DK points. If you want to go to him, I don't mind it. I feel better about Marcus Morris for $500 more, but if they're going to play Batum around 30 minutes off the bench, he is definitely someone worth considering. Luke Kennard didn't play much. He started in place of Kawhi, but he only played 24 minutes, wasn't very productive. Luke Kennard's never really been a great point-per-minute player, so I don't think I'm going to be going there even if he starts again. Rondo off the bench, I don't think played a ton. He played 21 minutes, 18 DK points, so I think my main interest from the Clippers team, I would say it's definitely Paul George, number 1, Marcus Morris, 2, probably Reggie Jackson, number 3, Batum, 4, and then Zubac, 5. But all 5 of those guys I have a lot of interest in. I think this Clippers team is definitely going to be a team I look to get exposure to today. Just when you take the highest usage player off the floor, there's going to be a lot of beneficiaries, and those are the 5 guys, factoring in price, that I think are going to be the ones I look to most. But moving on to the Pacers side, talking about Indiana here. So Domantas Sabonis, with Miles Turner once again out, I think is someone I like quite a bit as a pay-up option. 2 games without Miles Turner. He's played pretty well. 33 minutes against Orlando, had 47 DK points. 30 minutes against Memphis, 53 DK points. he just, he's more productive without Miles Turner. His rebounds see a little bit of a spike. His fantasy production overall takes a nice spike. We've seen his assist numbers be up as well lately. Sabonis is someone that has, triple-double upside. I know he hasn't put up a ton of triple-doubles this season, but he can go out there and contribute in all categories. He can get defensive stats as well. In my opinion, I thought Sabonis, I think it was Friday night when they played Orlando, I thought he was a great GPP play. No Miles Turner. He got ruled in like 30 minutes before lock. Sabonis was like 5% owned on that slate, and he was on pace to absolutely smash. He had 40 DK points at halftime and then somehow only finished with 47. But he had another good game, the day after that or 2 days after that against Memphis. And I think, Sabonis is set up to have another good game once again. This is going to be someone we definitely want to pay up for while Miles Turner remains out. He should be, closer to 10K. Sabonis is definitely still way underpriced. He's for sure my favorite play from this Pacers team. Malcolm Brogdon, though, I don't mind. He finally had a good game in what feels like forever. 62 DK points last game against Memphis, played 39 minutes, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists, nearly had a triple-double. Like, the production, it's been up and down this year for Malcolm Brogdon. He started off the season really well, and since then he's kind of, cooled down a little bit. He kind of feels like John Morant for me in that we know he's got that upside. It's just, it's hard to predict when he's going to put up those big games, but the price tag's still very affordable. $6,700 on DK, I think he's 26 on Yahoo. Yeah, $26 on Yahoo. I do have some interest in Malcolm Brogdon today for sure. He's probably my second favorite play from this Pacers team behind Sabonis. But outside of those two guys, I don't think I'm considering anyone else on the Pacers. So we can go ahead and move on to the next game, the Lakers and the Hornets. Now on the Lakers today, we got to start off with Andre Drummond. So you guys, if you watched my video yesterday, if you watched the live stream, if you tuned in then, I was very high on Andre Drummond. I liked him a lot on Tuesday's slate. I thought he was, severely underpriced at $6,800, and he just had a god-awful game against the Knicks. I think he only finished with he finished with like 17 fantasy points, literally just a terrible game. He played like 24 minutes, played 25 minutes, had 17 fantasy points, 3 points, 10 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, and 4 turnovers for Andre Drummond in 25 minutes. Just a god-awful game. The game also blew out. He did lose like 2 or 3 minutes because of the blowout, but I really don't know what to do with Andre Drummond. This is someone that I expect to be very productive when he's on the floor. We saw him put up a big game, in only 27 minutes against Miami, had 38 DK points, and only 22 minutes against Brooklyn, had 37 DK points. Drummond's, he's known to be a very productive player when he does get minutes. With Detroit, he averaged like 1.4 fantasy points per minute. With the Lakers, we haven't seen much of a sample size, but he's been a fantasy point per minute player so far with the Lakers. After that very disappointing game Tuesday, I think he is going to be super low owned. He was already pretty low owned. He was a lot lower owned than I thought he would be. In most of the tournaments I was in, Drummond, I think on DK, he was like 20% owned. On Yahoo, he was literally like less than 10% owned. Drummond was, lower owned than I thought he'd be Tuesday. With him busting as bad as he did Tuesday, I think he's going to be even lower owned today. I like going back to Andre Drummond. It's too early on in the day. I can't say if I'm going to play him or not, but I do like going back to Drummond. I think Tuesday's game was a bit of an outlier or a fluke, I should say. Drummond's not going to put up 17 fantasy points every night. Like at some point, he's going to pop off and put up a 20-20 type game. We know Drummond has that kind of upside in him. Now, obviously, with Montrezl Harrell they have as the backup, obviously Drummond's not going to play monster minutes because they do want to still give minutes to Montrezl Harrell. Most nights I expect around 28-30 minutes from Drummond and 18-20 minutes from Harrell. But even in 30 minutes from Drummond, he has the upside to put up 20 and 10, give you 40-plus DK points. He's definitely, once again, my favorite play from this Lakers team. $6,700, I still feels a little bit too cheap for him. Next favorite guy, though, would probably be like Dennis Schroeder, $6,500. Just been playing really well lately, been getting a ton of minutes. I think he had another good game. If I'm not mistaken, I thought he had another good game Tuesday against the Knicks. Didn't have that great of a game, but, played 36 minutes again. Don't mind Schroeder here if you do want to go to him. But I don't think I'm considering anything else from this Lakers team. I know Markieff Morris had a really good game, but with his price up, with Kuzma back, not as much interest in Markieff. So really it's just Drummond and Schroeder for me. Drummond I do like going back to. He burned me Tuesday, but there's a good chance I'm going to be back on him for this slate. Just hard to ignore him at that price point if he's going to be playing anywhere near 30 minutes. But moving on to the Charlotte side, looking at the Hornets here, there's some interest for me from this Hornets team. They continue to be pretty shorthanded. No Gordon Hayward, no LaMelo Ball, no Malik Monk. PJ Washington is probable. He's expected to play, but keep an eye on that. I assume he'll be good to go, but just keep an eye on that. With no Hayward though, with no LaMelo Ball, we've seen especially without Hayward. One of the biggest beneficiaries since Hayward has been ruled out has been Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges has just been getting a ton of minutes every night. He's been starting in place of Hayward, played 36, 37, and 41 minutes in their last 3 games. Two of those 3 games he was really productive, 45 and 37 DK points. I do expect Miles Bridges to be productive, playing with these guys. It's not like he's having to play alongside LaMelo, alongside Hayward. I mean, he should be a lot more productive now that those guys are out, because obviously LaMelo is someone that kind of demands the ball. Gordon Hayward has a pretty high usage rate in this offense. Getting those 2 guys off the floor is going to allow someone like Miles Bridges to be, more productive. And this is someone that can do a little bit of everything. He can score, he can get rebounds, he can get some assists. He's, good with defensive stats. Even at 5,800, I still like Miles Bridges quite a bit today. I still think he's a little bit underpriced. And on Yahoo, I do like him over there as well. $18. He also feels a little bit too cheap on Yahoo. Definitely going to be interested in Miles Bridges. I think he's my favorite play from the Charlotte team. But like Jalen McDaniels, I still have some interest in. He did get injured last game, but still played 29 minutes. He wasn't that productive, but he's still cheap, just 4,300. He's going to continue to start, I would assume, and play around mid-30s minutes a night. He would have played more than 29 minutes last game had he not gotten injured. So, yeah, I think we get probably 30, 32 minutes from Jalen McDaniels, maybe a few more. 4,300, still really cheap. I have some interest in him as a cheap value power forward if you need to go there. But like Terry Rozier at his price tag, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think he's a little bit overpriced at this point. I think he should be more like 7,500. I think 8,200. You're paying too much for Terry Rozier, I feel like. Now Devontae Graham, I would like if the Hornets would just give him more minutes. They did play him 32 minutes last game, which was great to see. But like the games before that, he had only been playing like mid-20s minutes. I mean, if you tell me we're going to get like low 30s minutes from Graham, I do have some interest in him as well, because I do expect him to be productive when he's on the floor. I expect him to average around a fantasy point per minute. He's probably my 3rd favorite play from Charlotte, behind Miles Bridges and behind Jalen McDaniels. PJ Washington, you could also look to. He has been starting at center, which has helped his fantasy production. He didn't have that great of a game against Atlanta, but I'm pretty sure he got injured in that game and was forced to sit out. He couldn't return. But obviously that injury is not going to affect him here because he's probable. He's expected to play. You could definitely go to Washington, but I think my 2 favorite plays from this Charlotte team are definitely Miles Bridges and Jalen McDaniels. Those are the 2 guys I have the most interest in. But we can go ahead and talk about the next game, OKC and Utah. So in OKC, there really isn't much I like on this team. We do know that Poku is going to be out today. They've already ruled him out, so I'm interested to see what they do with the starting lineup. I think Poku still started last game, if I'm not mistaken. I think they went with Maudon, Dort, Poku, Baisley, and Brown. I think that was their starting lineup last game. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure Poku did start last game. Honestly, I can check that real quick just to see. But I thought Poku still stuck in the starting lineup even with Dort and Baisley back. So let's see here. So they did start. Okay, so they did start Poku. So Maudon, Dort, Poku, Baisley, and Brown. So with Poku out, I assume either Kendrick Williams or Svi Mykhailiuk will replace him in the starting lineup. Neither one look like great options because they're both priced kind of appropriately. Svi's 5,100. Kendrick Williams is 5,600. Kendrick Williams is someone I do have some interest in just because he's a good point per minute player, but this is a really bad matchup against Utah. This is a spot where OKC is very likely to get blown out. I don't have much interest in this OKC team overall. Poku being out is going to give more minutes to guys like Williams and Svi, but they're both priced to where, they don't really stand out as top plays today. Baisley, in his first game back, he played 36 minutes, was pretty productive, had 34 DK points. If you want to go to him, I guess I don't mind him. He should be very productive, moving forward with OKC just because they don't have SGA, they don't have Horford, they don't have Roby. Baisley should be productive when he's out there. He's probably my favorite play from this Thunder team. If I had to play anyone from OKC today, it would definitely be Darius Baisley. But really, overall, this is not a team I want to have that much exposure to. So moving on to the Utah side, talking about the Jazz here, we do need to watch the status of Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson was doubtful for Monday. We don't know yet if he's going to play for Tuesday's game. Mike Conley was out for rest Monday. I assume that means that he'll play today. So I'm expecting Conley to be in. But Clarkson, on the other hand, don't exactly know his status. For now, I'm just going to assume that Clarkson remains out. And with Clarkson out, the biggest beneficiaries have been Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles, I still like a good amount, even at 5,900. Obviously, he's going to move back to the bench with Conley expected to play today. but should still get around 30 minutes off the bench. He's played at least 30 minutes, I believe, their last 2 games. I think the Sacramento game, he did start that one, but the Portland game, he came off the bench, played 35 minutes. I'm still expecting, even if Ingles comes off the bench, which is likely, if Clarkson's out, we still get probably like mid-20s, probably low 30s minutes from Joe Ingles. 5,900. He's a relatively good point per minute player when he's on the floor. I do have some interest in him still. I think he is probably my favorite play from this OKC team, assuming that Clarkson does remain out. Joe Ingles looks pretty good on Yahoo as well. Very cheap. If you're looking for a cheap small forward, I think he does stand out at $16. But outside of Joe Ingles, you could definitely go to Donovan Mitchell. He just continues to get a ton of usage without Clarkson. Now, obviously, Conley's expected back, but I still expect Mitchell to get a nice bump with Clarkson out, assuming that Clarkson does remain out. We've seen Mitchell have really good games over these last few when Clarkson has missed. So at 9,400, I think he's someone you can definitely look to today. My only worry is that this is a game that is very likely to blow out. I mean, right now the Jazz are favored by 17, so it would not be surprising if this game's over by the third quarter. Honestly, it wouldn't be surprising if Utah rests some guys here. This is a back-to-back for the Jazz. Obviously, they're very likely to win this game. Just keep an eye on this. I wouldn't be surprised if things get a little weird and maybe we see somebody rest that's unexpected, like they rest Donovan Mitchell or something. But for right now, I'm going to assume all these guys are in outside of Clarkson. If that's the case, I think Mitchell and Ingles are my 2 favorite plays from Utah. You could go to Gobert, you could go to Conley, you could go to Bojan, but I think Ingles and Mitchell are the 2 guys I like most from the Jazz, assuming that Clarkson remains out. But moving on to the next game, Boston and Portland. So this is, on the Boston side here, this is not a team I really have a ton of interest in. The matchup is good against Portland, but like Tatum, Brown, Kemba Walker, they all feel kind of priced appropriately today. I don't think any of them stand out as like top options for me. They're definitely guys that I'm fine getting to as like last pieces in, but I don't know if I'm really going to build around them on this slate. Like 9,200 for Tatum feels, he feels priced about right. Could Tatum go out there and put up 55, 60 DK points and be a good play at his price tag? Yes, but obviously, with Kemba healthy, with Brown healthy, with Smart healthy, it's just the upside games, I guess, are a lot less likely to come for Tatum. He can pop off at any time, but it's, I usually don't go to Tatum unless, one of Brown or Walker or Kemba is out. So overall, I don't have a ton of interest in this Boston team. Like Robert Williams in a matchup against Kanter, like in Kanter and Nurkic, I'd have some interest in, but his minutes have definitely taken a hit with Tristan Thompson back. Like, I just don't like much here. Boston's not a team I really have a ton of interest in. If I was going to play anyone, it would be, one of these 4 guys, Tatum, Brown, Walker, or Smart, but none of them stand out as priorities today. None of them stand out as top options to me. So we can go ahead and talk about the Portland side now. And on Portland, it's kind of the same thing. Like, Dame, CJ McCollum both feel appropriately priced. This is not the best matchup against Boston. Like, Enes Kanter obviously had that huge game whenever Nurkic was out, but now that Nurkic is back, like, I just don't have any interest in Kanter at 6,100. His minutes are going to take a hit. Nurkic I would actually have interest in if we knew he was going to play more than, like, 22 minutes. Since he's come back from injury, he's only played 19, 21, 21, 18, 22, and 22 minutes, so until we hear otherwise, I can't go to Nurkic unless we know he's going to play like closer to 30 minutes. I think once Nurkic does get back up to around 30 minutes, he is someone we are definitely going to want to be rostering. But until that happens, I don't think we can go there. So, yeah, overall, I don't like this game that much, and there's not much that stands out from either side here. So we can go ahead and talk about the last game on the night, Miami and Phoenix. So on Miami today, again, another team I don't have a ton of interest in. Jimmy Butler, I haven't really been playing lately. I know he's had some decent games, but 9,300, like, he just feels appropriately priced. You're getting, a great floor from Jimmy Butler. We've seen him put up at least 40 fantasy points in like 8 of his last 10 games, but the ceiling I think is a bit limited, with Bam healthy, obviously. Oladipo is out, but I don't think Oladipo being out really changes too much because Oladipo, hasn't been doing a ton with this Miami team so far. I guess you could go to Jimmy, but like, he just feels, if he was like 8,500, I think I'd be a lot more interested, but 9,300, like, I'd rather play Paul George for cheaper. I think Paul George gives you more upside without Kawhi. I know Paul George is going to be way more popular, but overall, I don't have a ton of interest in Jimmy. Kind of the same with Bam. Like, there's other centers I think I prefer today. Tyler Hero, Dragic, these guys benefit a little bit without Oladipo, but again, they feel priced appropriately. Like, Hero's 5,500, Dragic is 4,600. Now, Dragic is actually pretty cheap, but he just hasn't been getting a ton of minutes lately. Kendrick Nunn, I think, actually started last game. They actually moved him back into the rotation. He started and played 32 minutes, so I would say that this is the one thing to keep an eye on. He was literally like out of the rotation. He had not played in like 6 straight games, and then they actually went and moved him back into the starting lineup in their last game against Portland. If Kendrick Nunn starts again, I think he's probably my favorite play from this Miami team. I don't know if they're going to go with the same starting lineup, but if they do decide to start Nunn, lately they had been starting Oladipo, so I'm assuming that Nunn, kind of replaced Oladipo in the starting lineup. So yeah, if Nunn's out, or if with Oladipo out, if Nunn does start again, I actually do have some interest in Kendrick Nunn. I think he's probably my favorite play from this Miami team. 4,400, very cheap for Kendrick Nunn if he is going to be starting. We've seen him make spot starts this year, and the minutes aren't what we expect them to be. But given that he did play 32 last game and that he played well, I expect him for them to give him around 30 minutes again, which does make him a really good option at 4,400. He's definitely my favorite play from Miami today if he starts again. But moving on to the Phoenix side, like the Suns, I don't have a ton of interest in today. It feels like the Suns are on every slate. Like I feel like the Suns play literally every day. But they played Monday. They're playing again Tuesday. It's a back-to-back for Phoenix. Overall, this isn't a Suns team I have that much interest in. Like I haven't really been playing Booker or Paul or Ayton. If I had to play anyone here, I think it would be Ayton at his price tag. On a little bit of a shorter slate like this, only 6 games, I think he does make a lot of sense to go to at center in the mid-range. If they're going to give Ayton 32, 34 minutes a night, he does still feel a little bit too cheap at 6,800. I know he had a really good game against Miami earlier this season. Put up 48 DK points in 34 minutes. So if you want to go to him, I think he's my favorite play from Phoenix. But overall, I don't love a ton from this team outside of Ayton. So I think that does it for Phoenix, guys. I think that does it for all 6 games on this slate. I do appreciate you guys watching the video once again. If you did enjoy, hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also do get notified every time I live stream. Once again, should be live Tuesday afternoon around 4:30 Eastern Time if you guys want to tune into the stream. I can answer all your guys' questions. We can break down everything once again in the live stream. But good luck on this slate, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.